After spending the day with my sisters, something felt different, lighter. Not completely, but enough to notice. But the unease about Josh hadn't gone anywhere. It lingered in the back of my mind like a question I couldn't stop asking. That night, I closed my eyes and entered the Soul Archive. The space greeted me in silence. Near the center, something new had formed. A crystal, dense and gray. Earth. It looked heavy, solid, its surface uneven, misshapen, but strangely smooth, like it had been worn down over time. It didn't pulse like the others. It just existed, stable, grounded. I hadn't even cleansed the soul for it. So I can learn without it, I murmured. The thought barely had time to settle. My phone buzzed. I opened my eyes. New request. Echo detected, suffocation victim. Location, VIP room, Mary's Dance Club. I accepted immediately. The club was wrong. Places like this were supposed to be loud, music, bodies, movement. But when I stepped inside, silence. Complete. The empty dance floor stretched out in front of me. Lights dim, air stale. It felt like walking into something abandoned, like the life had been drained out of it. I pushed the feeling down and made my way to the VIP section. The closer I got, the heavier the air became. Then I felt it. Panic. Desperation. A suffocating, clawing terror that pressed against my chest before I even opened the door. Yeah, I muttered. This one's bad. I pushed the door open. The room was still, but the echo wasn't. It coiled in the center, tight, invisible, oppressive, like something wrapped around itself. Waiting, I stepped forward and raised my hands. Echo cleanse. The world snapped. I was inside it. Dark. Close. Too close. Hands tight around my throat. I couldn't breathe. Pressure built instantly, crushing, unrelenting. My lungs burned as I tried to pull in air that wouldn't come. My instincts screamed to fight, to tear at it, to break it, but I forced myself to focus. This wasn't like the others. The soul wasn't the problem. I could feel it. Weak, fading, buried. Something else was wrapped around it. Constriction, like a serpent tightening with every second. If I pushed with force, I'd crush it. If I absorbed it, I'd take it in. So don't do either. My breath hitched. Separated. I shifted my mana. Not wide. Not heavy. Thin. Precise. Like a blade. A current of air, so fine it barely existed. I guided it carefully, sliding it between the soul. And the corruption wrapped around it. There was resistance. Then, a gap. I pushed deeper. Slow. Controlled. Peeling it away. Not tearing. Not burning. Just separating. The pressure faltered. The grip around my throat loosened. Air. Cold, sharp air flooded into my lungs. I gasped. Again and again. The corruption unraveled, slipping away from the soul piece by piece until it finally broke apart completely. The echo dissolved. Reality slammed back in. I dropped to my knees, coughing hard as sweat dripped into my eyes. Damn. The black veins crept up my arms, curling toward my chest. Not as bad as the combustion echo, but still heavy. Still there. That was a strong one. I closed my eyes again and slipped back into the archive. The orb was already moving, faster than before, orbiting the golden crystal in a tight, shifting pattern. I stepped closer and touched it. Light flared. Wind. A new crystal formed beside the others. Smooth. Round. But inside, currents moved. Endless motion, twisting and flowing like contained storm. I stared at it, breathing slowly. Fire. Water. Earth. Now wind. Each one different. Each one learned. Not given. Not granted. Understood. I looked at my hands. Then back at the crystals. I thought this power came from cleansing them. My voice was quiet. But maybe... I exhaled slowly. I don't need them to suffer to grow. I opened my eyes as the bus rolled to a stop. The ride home passed in a blur. I had something I needed to test. Once inside my apartment, I dropped onto the couch and closed my eyes, focusing inward. The soul archive formed around me. Quiet. Still. I walked straight to the gray crystal. Earth. Incomplete. What am I missing? I muttered. I studied it. Earth is containment. Anchoring. I raised my hand, try to recreate the feeling like when I held the echo under the rubble. I compressed my mana. Try to shape it. Bind it. Nothing. No response. No reaction. That's not it. I frowned and looked around the archive. Everything felt off. Then I noticed it. The orb. It had stopped. Completely. No rotation. No movement. Just hovering in silence. A bad feeling crept in. I stepped closer and reached out. The moment my fingers touched it, light exploded. I was back. Under the rubble. The weight hit instantly. Crushing. Absolute. Concrete pressed down from every direction, forcing the air from my lungs. My bones screamed under the pressure. Dust filled my throat. I could hear them. The child crying. The mother trying to soothe her. The faint, panicked breaths of people who didn't know if they were going to live. And in my hands, the echo. Thrashing. Fighting. Getting worse. I tried to move. I couldn't. I tried to breathe. Barely. The pressure increased. More debris shifted above me with a grinding crack. I felt something in my body give. Pain flared. Sharp. Immediate. I can't. Remove it. My thoughts were slipping. I can't. Escape. The weight wasn't just on my body. It was everywhere. There was no space. No room. No way out. Then it hit me. I stopped fighting. Stopped trying to push back. Stopped trying to move. Instead, I pulled inward. Compressed my mana. Condensed it. Not outward. Not forceful. Just dense. Heavy. Unmoving. It settled around me. Layer by layer. Until I wasn't resisting the pressure. I was matching it. The crushing weight pressed down. And I held. My presence hardened. Like stone. Like something that had always been there. Something that didn't bend. Didn't shift. Didn't break. I can't escape. My voice was quiet. Steady. So I'll hold it. The pressure continued. Unrelenting. But I didn't move. Didn't crack. Didn't give. Then I'll be the thing that doesn't break. Everything stilled. The world shattered. I was back in the archive. Breathing hard. The gray crystal stood before me. Complete. No longer rough. No longer unstable. Now, solid. Smooth. Immovable. Absolute. I stepped forward slowly and placed my hand against its surface. It was cool. Heavy. Grounded. I turned, looking at the others. The jagged, volatile heat of thermal. The calm, flowing blue of stability. The shifting currents of wind. And now, earth. For elements. For principles. All different. All understood. A small smile crept across my face. This is getting interesting. As I turned away, my hand felt heavier than before. The silence in the diner was absolute. On the small TV, they were showing footage of Josh from a store security camera. He looked gaunt, shaking. He wasn't looking at the cashier. He was looking at something only he could see. The news anchor's voice was drowned out by the thrumming in my own head. I watched him. I didn't see a monster. I saw a man holding a weight that was crushing his soul. "We have to call it in, Brian," Cynthia whispered, her eyes fixed on screen. "The Federation, the Hunter Guilds, they'll hunt him down. If he's murdering people, there's no other choice." I looked at her. My hands were balled into fists under the table. "No, Brian, he's dangerous. Look at what he's done. You didn't choose to do this." I snapped, my voice quieter but harder. "He's a container, Cynthia. That's all he is." He stored those echoes thinking he was helping, or maybe he was just desperate for the power. Now, they're rotting him from the inside out. I leaned forward. If the guilds find him, they won't save him. They'll execute him, and if they kill him while he's holding that much corrupted energy. I didn't finish the thought. I didn't have to. The explosion would be catastrophic. You're going to try to save him, she realized, her expression shifting from fear to disbelief. I'm the only one who can, I said. I have the archive. I have the elements. If I can get to him before he fully shatters, I can pull that corruption out. Cynthia looked at the folder, then at me. A long, agonizing minute passed. Finally, she sighed and pulled her laptop out of her bag. If we're going to do this, we do it my way, she said, her fingers flying across the keys. We don't track him by sight. He's too scared, too paranoid. We track the energy. We spent the next 4 hours turning the city inside out. Cynthia was a genius with the grid. She bypassed municipal servers, hacking into private security feeds and traffic cams, cross-referencing the missing persons timeline with power surges in the city. I focused on the sensory side. I closed my eyes, reaching out with the soul archive. I looked for the wrongness. Josh was a leak, a massive, gaping wound in the fabric of reality. Wherever he went, the air should feel heavy, stagnant. Got something, Cynthia murmured, pointing to a screen. She pulled up a feed from an industrial district on the edge of town. An old, abandoned warehouse facility. Look at the footage, she said. The cameras, they're failing. The screen was static riddled. But for a split second, I saw a figure walking toward the back loading dock. It was him. That's 3 miles from here, I said, standing up. Brian, Cynthia grabbed my arm. If you go in there, and he's already gone, if there's nothing left of him, then I'll be the one to stop it, I said. I looked at my hands. I didn't have the light or the dark yet, but I had the earth. And for the first time, I knew exactly what I needed to do. We didn't talk on the drive over. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by the encroaching shadows of the industrial outskirts. As we pulled up to the warehouse, I felt it. Not just the energy, the screaming. It wasn't physical sound. It was the echoes. Thousands of them. All trapped, all angry, all desperate to be heard. Josh was in there, and he wasn't alone. I turned to Cynthia. Stay in the car. If I'm not out in 20 minutes, run. I didn't wait for her to argue. I opened the door and stepped out into the night. My name is Josh Williams. I thought I'd finally found my place. When the system identified my skill, I was ecstatic. Inventory, a pocket dimension. I picture myself as the ultimate porter, the backbone of team, the guy everyone relied on. I applied to every party that would take me. Blu-ray was the one that gave me a shot. The leader, Vance, was good people. He was patient. He helped me learn the ropes. For a few weeks, I felt like I actually belonged. I was part of a group. I had value. But then, reality set in. Most containment mages could store a warehouse of gear. They could hold hundreds of pounds, sometimes tons. Me? I hit a wall at 200 pounds. 200. I was useless. I was a burden. I saw the looks. Even when Vance tried to hide it, I saw the math in his eyes. Why bring the guy who can't carry the gear? I quit before they could fire me. It was easier that way. I walked the streets for days, empty-handed, drowning in the shame of being a failure. Then I saw him. A white-haired kid, standing in front of an echo. He didn't have a weapon. He didn't have gear. He just reached out, and the echo vanished, cleansed. I watched him from the shadows, mesmerized. He looked miserable, veins dark and pulsing on his face, but he did it. Could I do that? Could I take the weight off the world? I spent days watching the Federation sites. One night, I found a breach, an active echo, left uncontained. I checked the perimeter. Nothing. I crept in. I reached out, panic spiking in my chest, and pulled. Pop. It was gone. Inside my inventory. And the best part? It didn't weigh anything. It was zero mass. Absolute zero. My mind raced. If echoes have no weight, my limitation was gone. I could hold everything. I could hold 1,000. 10,000. I could be the ultimate White Mage. I could be the one who finally cleans up this city. I was going to be a hero. I forged the license the next morning. The class was a breeze, and standing there in the back of the room was the white-haired kid from the alley. Brian. He was a new recruit, too. Yesterday was his first cleanse. I felt a surge of camaraderie. We were both starting, both trying to do the work. I started my life with so much enthusiasm. I took every job. I cleansed everything I could find. But then, the change started. It wasn't just the echoes in my inventory. They were alive in there. At first, it was a whisper, just a thought that didn't feel like my own. Then it became a chorus. Why did you leave me? It burns. Make them pay. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just stress, just fatigue. But the voices wouldn't stop. They didn't sleep. They screamed and clawed at the walls of my mind, demanding to be heard, demanding to be let out. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. Sometimes, I'd wake up in a dark alley. The air would be cold, my hands would be shaking, and there would be a body at my feet. The first time it happened, I screamed. I ran until my lungs felt like they were going to burst. I thought it was a nightmare, but then it happened again, and again. I'm not a murderer. I'm not. I'm just a container. But I'm not the one in control anymore. The voices, they're tired of being stored. They're tired of being invisible. And now, they're taking the wheel. I'm trapped. I'm screaming inside my own head, begging them to stop, but the only thing that comes out of my mouth is a laugh I don't recognize. I think I'm fading away, and there's nothing left to do but watch. Not pain, not injury, just wait. Like something had changed the way my body understood gravity. I was about to leave the soul archive when I felt a subtle shift. I stopped. Slowly, I turned back. The 4 elemental crystals had changed. They vanished for a brief moment, then reappeared, now orbiting the large golden crystal at the center of the archive. But something was wrong. The rotation wasn't stable. It was uneven, strained, like the system was trying to force a pattern that didn't fully exist. Empty pressure pockets formed in the orbit, gaps where something should have been, but wasn't. I narrowed my eyes. On the outer edge of the archive, a ripple passed through the space. A brief absence of light. Not darkness, not shadow. More like reality itself, refusing to render something for an instant. I stared at it for a long moment. What is that? Before I could focus further, I decided to step back. As I turned away, a second anomaly appeared. A warm pulse. It flared for an instant, then collapsed, like something attempting to stabilize the system, but failing to anchor itself into place. I paused. The archive slowly settled back into its usual stillness, but it didn't feel the same anymore. I leaned back slightly, the weight of the discovery settling in. Something's missing. Over the next few days, nothing abnormal happened. I accepted a few missions, cleansed echoes. Everything was routine, but I kept searching for Josh. He was gone, a ghost in the system. On the 3rd day, Cynthia messaged me. She had the report. We met at a diner, the smell of cheap coffee heavy in the air. She slid a thick folder across the table. Blu-ray, I muttered, scanning the file. Why would an adventure team need a White Mage for a rift? Cynthia tapped the page. He wasn't a White Mage, Brian. He was a containment mage. He used inventory skills to store items. My stomach dropped. He forged his license, she added. That was it. The missing puzzle piece. That's why his cleansing process had felt so cold, so off. He wasn't cleansing the echoes. He was archiving them. What about his mental state? I asked. The team said he was fine. Normal. I paused. We had been in orientation together. He had been quiet, sure, but sane. What changed? Cynthia frowned. Maybe the trapped echoes. Maybe they aren't just sitting in his inventory. We stopped. The pieces clicked into place, a terrifying picture forming in our minds. Clatter. The sound of the diner TV cut through the silence. The news anchor's voice was urgent. A grainy surveillance photo flashed on the screen. Josh Williams. Primary suspect. The report listed the missing people. Every single one had been cleansed by Josh. I looked at Cynthia, my heart hammering. He isn't just storing them, I whispered. The echoes are influencing him. He's acting out their trauma, their revenge. Cynthia went pale. It makes sense. We sat there, paralyzed, watching the news feed roll. The hunter had become the hunted, and he was unraveling fast.